Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. About get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we about to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping.
All right, Nick, that's enough of that. So
wow, that was pretty abrupt, dude. Shit, I was in the middle of a yawn. My God. Welcome to the Mangina Dialogues podcast. I am your host, Nick Scopes.
And I am Gregory M. Alprin.
Oh, my God. He goes with his real name today because he's probably embarrassed.
Totally.
He's embarrassed in front of our guests, just like that theme song embarrassed both of us. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is the very funny, and he loves rap. It's his favorite genre of music. That Jamieson. What's up, Don?
Who did that for you? Puff Daddy?
Puppet Daddy. Puppet Daddy.
M&M's? Who did that for you?
Yeah, it was M&M's and Snickers.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
rap.
it was a good production. I gotta give it that. And Nick is talking into a fan. So we're off to a good start.
Just a big white ball. I know. I need a new mic.
He's talking into a circular fan.
Right. It's a big white ball, all right. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, good to be with you, man. I'm doing all right. It's 2020. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Don? Which coast are you at? Where are you at?
I'm in Jersey.
Oh, nice.
Jersey boys.
I live down by the beach. I have my own little corner of paradise down here by the beach. And yeah, it's great down here, man. I love it. I'm going to get out on my bike today and try to write some jokes not about coronavirus.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So before we kind of get into it, I'm curious about what the ratio is of sleeveless to not sleeveless shirts that you have.
No, if you study all my appearances, and I know you do.
Totally. I'm a scholar.
I've been doing all day. I don't know, at work, nothing.
You'll see that I actually only have 3 sleeveless shirts, but I just rotate them. But, I stepped it up a notch for you guys. I wore my Blackberry Smoke shirt here, cool Southern rock band.
Yep, great band.
I classed it up for you guys.
That's perfect. We appreciate it. I saw on your birthday you were sleeveless. Last week when I saw you were sleeveless. So I was just curious because I have one sleeveless shirt. And whenever I put it on, it's just a barrage of jokes from everybody around me. So I can't do sleeveless. So I much respect to those who can.
Yeah, well, it's I'm the kind of guy that drags the summer out until like almost Halloween.
Right.
So yeah, you'll see a bunch more sleeveless appearances before we break out the winter jacket.
Shorts in February.
I'm like a girl, like the air conditioning is on in the house all summer, and then there's no pause between the air conditioning and then heat. It's like it's blasting air conditioning, and the first day it goes below 70, it goes right to the hottest heat possible.
Mm-hmm. That's my.
So I go right from sleeveless straight to a winter jacket.
Fur coats. Yeah, I know. I've seen you now.
Or pantsless. Either way.
Pantsless. Let's just go Paletti every day. So you guys had that awesome TMS reunion a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm a stadium act now, bitches.
Yep, playing baseball stadiums. Only so many people can play baseball stadiums. How did that go? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's I have a couple specific examples of the glory of show business and being in comedy, and that weekend was one of them. On the Friday night, I played a baseball stadium in New Jersey, and on Saturday night, I played someone's birthday party in their backyard in Pennsylvania.
Which paid better? Which was better pay?
The stadium was a little bit better, but it was really cool too because I had my guys from That Metal Show, Eddie Trunk and Jim Florentine, on board, and our buddy Bumblefoot, who's a guitar player, who used to be in Guns N' Roses. he came down and played our theme song because he did it when we did the TV show. And our buddy Craig Gass, you guys probably know, comedian, came down, and we just had a kick-ass time, man. A lot of fun, and all the socially distanced stuff that you need. I said, like, they still had the netting up, in front of the seats because the stage was on the field, and I was like, well, that's like a giant mask for the whole crowd, the netting, So it was cool.
How many people? How many people was it? Because I like
27,000 people.
Just a shade under 30, Fenway Park.
Yeah, we'll round it up to 30.
Right. That's good.
For those of you that don't know, TMS stands for That Metal Show. It was the longest running show on VH1, correct?
That is true, Nick, but it was also the only original show that aired on VH1 Classic, so
doesn't matter. Fuck it. If you ain't first, you last. That's cool though. That's awesome.
So what?
Hey, it bought me a house. So I appreciate all the rock fans that helped me buy a house. I can't afford it anymore, but it did buy me a house.
And you can be staying there for a while.
You and the rest of the country.
I'm playing backyards. That's not exciting my mortgage broker.
Well, we can make it to the front yards. I think I want to talk to you last time that was religion for me watching that show. And as an avid metal and hard rock fan from when I was in high school, we're pretty close to the same age. There's a lot of bands on there that I didn't really, listen to a lot that you guys exposed me to. And of course, the comedy side of it with you and Jim and, stuff like, everyone knows UFO, but I never really dug into UFO until, you guys would make fun of it, Eddie about it all the time. And he would talk about UFO. And I'm like, man, I guess I got to check out a little more UFO. And so like, really, thanks to you guys, you turned me on to a bunch of bands I heard about, didn't really listen to, and now listen to all the time. So thanks for that.
That was the whole idea of the show, man. It's just we all had that one band we made fun of each other with. Eddie's was UFO, and mine was probably Thin Lizzy, and then whatever Jim's was like Tigers of Pantang or something real obscure.
Yeah.
But we also turned each other on to new music, which was cool too. And the other funny example I give people about comedy is, Jim and I got asked along with Jim Brewer to do Metallica's Orion Fest in Atlantic City. And that was another one where it's like I go on stage, Lars from Metallica comes down, introduces me to the crowd. James Hetfield watched from the side of the stage. It's like, this is the greatest day of my life. I went out, I had a great set. Everybody did. The fans loved it, all the Metallica fans. That was the Saturday. The following Thursday, I played the back room of a pizza place in North Jersey.
Sal's Pizza.
Yeah, it's like, I got Lars introducing me one day, and the next day I got a guy like tell me not to back into the stove because there's garlic knots cooking.
Dude, I think out of all the guests we've had, you have the most highs and lows of anyone. Like, I've never...
The yin and the yang of one day to the next.
Dude, unbelievable.
It's actually a great, kind of transition to how I wanted to make the parallel with you between music and comedy, right? And I read, I don't know if it was on your Wikipedia or your bio on your homepage or somewhere, that you had this great quote. It said, "It's not fun if it's not dangerous," right? Something. Yeah. And I mean, that's rock and roll, and that 100% is comedy, right? So where do you see those parallels?
Yeah, I forget the context of that quote, but for me, that's always was like the first two albums I ever had symbolized that. So it was George Carlin, Occupation Fool, Kiss, Destroyer. And to me, it was like, yeah, but my parents hated both of these things. So hence, I love both of these because my parents don't like it. It is a little, it's dangerous, Carlin with the 7 dirty words, and then Kiss were, superheroes and rock stars and comic book characters all at once. And, when you're 12, that's, the greatest thing in the world. So, with comedy over the years, it's been funny. I sort of accidentally fell into that role of going out and being like the rock and roll comic. and actually going out and opening for bands. And it kind of started with Metallica doing that festival, because then bands were like, oh, you want to come out on the road and open for us? And, you know, regular comics, they all think I'm insane when I tell them, you know, they go, you were on tour all summer with Zakk Wylde from Ozzy's band? Like, oh yeah, like, why would you do that?
Why not?
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's fun. You know, those are my people. You know, I love, you know, hard rock and metal, you know, like they do. So, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have a little recognition factor with that crowd from that metal show. And, you know, I think back to the early days of performing in bars. You know, we didn't wake up, write our first 5 minutes of jokes and start playing headlining the improvs, you know. You know, we played bars and you know, backs of restaurants where, you know, people they didn't even know there was a comedy show on. They're trying to watch the playoffs at the bar and the TVs are on. You're standing on a case of beer with a microphone that's plugged directly into the wall, and you can't move, otherwise the mic will unplug, and people are screaming at you drunk at the bar. And, you know, so when I go out and do these rock shows, I just take that attitude of like, you know, I just got to go out and get these animals on my side and attack and hopefully get them laughing. And so that's what I've been doing, man.
Right. So, I mean, you opened up for Dice for a lot of years, right? So I imagine that was as close to a rock and roll crowd that exists in the world. I mean, I've seen Dice, you know, several times, including in, you know, the MSG early days in the 80s and late 80s or early 90s when I was in college. And that was as much of a rock concert as any big ass metal concert I've ever gone to. So I imagine having that experience, having to go to play to Dice's crowd and win those people over is not much different than going and having to open up the Orion Festival at you know, for Metallica.
Absolutely, man. You know, I say Dice would always laugh at me. You know, I wasn't with him during the arena years, but we were still playing, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 theaters and stuff. And he would always crack up because when they introduced me, I would literally run to the microphone from the side of the stage, because I knew if I didn't get my first joke out before someone yelled, "You fucking suck," I was dead. But if you could get those first couple jokes out and get a few laughs, then his crowds they respected you, you know. But you had to bring it, man. And so yeah, his crowds, you know, definitely they definitely made me work, but it made me a better comic. That was, you know, college for comedy, man. Just have no fear and go out there and do what you do.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't imagine. You said you were doing stadiums, but when you were at, you know, opening for Dice, how big were those crowds?
Yeah, those were like, you know, a couple thousand people. And, you know, and then I remember the first time I opened for him, he was doing like 7 shows at this club here in Jersey called the Stress Factory. You guys probably know the Stress. Yeah, there's one up in Connecticut by you, Greg.
Yep.
And I went down, and, you know, this is literally my comedy idol that I'm opening for. I finally got this opportunity, so I don't even go in the dressing room because I don't want to bother Dice I don't want to do anything wrong. So I'm standing by the bar, and nobody's in the showroom yet. Dice walks out, and he sees me, and he walks up to me, and he goes, and he gets like 2 inches from my face, and he goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do I do? He goes, "What are you going to say on stage?" I'm like, and now, you know, it's like a half hour before showtime. I'm looking through my notes. I'm like, "You want me to do like my act for you?" He goes, "Yeah, I got to know what you're going to say." I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
And I'm freaking out. So I go, I do this thing about like going to SeaWorld, and okay, that's good. Do that one. I got this thing about getting my hair cut. I go, okay, do that one too. And he made me go, and, you know, like I only had to do 10 minutes, but this is the most important 10 minutes of my life.
Sure.
So I put together what was, to me at the time, the best possible 10 minutes of jokes that I had, you know. So I go up, and my first joke, which is my best joke, I'm leading with the best joke I have, because I got to get them right from the start.
Right.
My first joke literally gets a 0.
Wow.
Not even a sarcastic laugh. Not even, you couldn't even hear the ice melting in drinks. It was so,
Wow.
it was so brutal.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
So, and I see Dice is looking out the door of the dressing room watching me. So I'm like, that's it. It's over. I blew it. He's, you know, if my first joke didn't work, what good am I to him? Right. So my second joke, it's about a 6.
Well,
so I'm all right.
Improvement.
Okay. Good recovery. And then my next joke gets about an 8. And then the
Wow.
rest of the set I killed. But in the whole time I'm beyond miserable because I'm like, again, you know, you guys are comics, you know, we're like, we doom ourselves instantly. And I go back in the dressing room, and it's a tiny little dressing room, and he's getting dressed, and he doesn't even look at me. So now I'm just standing there like a fool. He walks past me to use the bathroom, again, an inch away, doesn't say a word, doesn't even look at me. So now in my head, I'm going, this motherfucker, goddamn, fuck him. I came down to the stress factory to open for him. He can't even, you know, just be nice and say, hey, it didn't work out this time, whatever. Like nothing. He walks back from the bathroom, doesn't even acknowledge my presence. Then his girlfriend at the time was there, and he's like, put my leather jacket on. She puts it on him, and then she just slaps him hard on the back and go, will you tell the kid you liked him? And he turned around, he's like, ah! You were great, man. I love the thing about the dolphin and the thing, and he watched the whole set, and that was, you know, we did 10 years together after that.
Wow, that's amazing.
that's so wild. I hate it, dude. That fucking hazing. You must have been so fucking anxious.
Well, then I got to watch him do that. You know, when other people kind of joined into our camp once in a while, he would do stuff like that to other people. You know, and then I was like Alex Trebek with the answers. Like I've seen all this already. I know the
Right.
answers to all these twist stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to just let the comics figure it out on their own. And then there was guys who couldn't take it, and that's really what he always did that to see if you could handle the ball busting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to take his ball busting if you're gonna be able to take the fans out there who just really want to eat you alive. You know.
Yeah.
What did you learn from all those experiences? Just to go for it and you know, pedal to the metal?
Yeah, man. You know, he was always, you know, Dice was really, you know, he really wants the guys, you know, because he's, you know, Jim Florentine opened for him for years, and Jim Norton did as well. So, you know, the 3 Jersey guys, you know, we all opened for him for many years, and pass down tips to one another on how to work with Dice and you know, the things he likes and doesn't like. But as far as him, man, he wanted his guys to score. He wasn't one of the headliners like, oh, don't talk about this, don't say that, you know, don't, you know, he go do 15 minutes. If you're killing, do 20. If you're not, stop at 12. Like
right.
he set it up so, you know, that you could really go out and do a good job. And, you know, because he wants the crowd warmed up when he gets out there.
Yeah,
So he, you know, he was really fucking generous in that way, man. As much as he broke balls,
yeah,
you know, he definitely wanted his openers to do a good job.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So you hang out or used to write jokes for another ball buster, female version, Lisa Lampanelli, huh?
Yeah.
Dude.
That was another situation where I had known Lisa from the scene, and we were doing a show we met at Caroline's Comedy Club in the city.
Yeah.
And she went up and she destroyed so hard, and I had to go up after her, and I ate shit so bad for 15 minutes, and I got done, and she, and, you know, you just had to, I walked in the dressing room, and we just both started cracking up because it was just so painful.
Yeah.
And then I had done a few of the roast on the Stern, on Howard Stern, when he went over to, I guess he was just had started at Satellite maybe. And then she was going to do a few of them. So I had written some jokes thinking I was going to be on one of them, but I didn't get booked. So I emailed them to her because we were friends. And I said, I'm not looking for money or anything for these jokes, but I've already written them, and I want them to have a good home, you know, and you know, of course, Lisa was the master at the roast. So I knew if she liked any of them, she'd deliver them great. And she wrote me back. She goes, not only not only am I paying you for these, you're going to be my new roast writer with me. So that was a good 10 years of working on the roast and stuff with Lisa, which was super fun. It's great to write shitty things about people and then they never know that you wrote them.
You wrote it? Until now. So what are some of the roasts you worked on with her that, people don't know that you helped her write some of the jokes for? Some of the big ones.
Well, the funnest one for me was the Gene Simmons roast that was on his show, Family Jewels.
Yeah.
Because obviously Kiss fan since I'm 11 years old, so that was like I probably wrote 25 pages of jokes about Gene, and then I got to meet him afterwards. It was at the Key Club in Los Angeles, and he he agreed to take. He wasn't taking photos with anybody, so I was glad that he didn't know I was like one of the writers, because he agreed to take a photo with me, and that was a great moment, meeting Gene and getting a picture with him. So that was a good one. And then the one that I always hear about when it re-airs, because there's a bunch of shots of me sitting in the audience, is the roast of Donald Trump.
Right.
I knew it. Yeah, I had a feeling that was gonna be the one.
And that was a great roast because, obviously, I don't know if you guys know what he's been up to since that roast, but
haven't heard much.
Yeah, I don't know. He had a roast. He had a roast battle the other night with this guy Joe Biden.
Yeah, so he's back into the roast stuff.
Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah,
you need some better writers, that's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't write for that one, but the Comedy Central one I wrote for, and that one was really fun because. It was in New York, so I got to go to that one and hang and like I said, there was some shots of me in the audience, so people see me at that. Obviously, it's hilarious that he became our president after that, and but the craziest thing about that night was the Situation was one of the roasters.
Yeah, he was the worst.
I mean,
that was the
edited.
Worst.
That is edited because. People were literally chanting, like up in the rafters, people were chanting, shut the fuck up, like just viciously. And I felt kind of bad for him, but not, because he's so cocky and he just kept going, and he has that that fake swagger. But at the same time, I felt bad because I'm like, I know he's not a comic. He doesn't know, like, all right, the next joke that gets like even a slight laugh, I'll say goodnight and get off the stage. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know how to cut his losses. Right. He's just reading the teleprompter. He didn't write any of the jokes. A guy like Snoop Dogg, who's not a comic, but he gets it. Like, he kind of knows, like, all right, my flow is coming to an end here. I'm going to bounce before, I'm going to get off on a high note. But but he didn't know that. And so I'm torn, like, do I feel bad for this guy? Whatever. I know Trump loved it because he, any attention on him, he loves,
of course.
even if you're shitting on him. But I go backstage and Lisa Lampanelli introduces me to the Situation, and he goes, "That was pretty good, right?"
Holy shit.
What an idiot.
Why do you think it was so bad? Was it just that he didn't know how to deliver the material?
That's what I was going to ask. Was it the jokes or the delivery? Because people are writing that shit for you. Like, you have talented writers on those roasts.
Yeah, both. You could have the best jokes written for you, and if you have no delivery, no timing.
Right.
And I think it was sort of towards the end of the popularity of Jersey Shore, where like with anything, they love to build you up and then tear you down at a certain point when you get too big. So yeah, but that was a great night. That was a lot of fun on many levels.
Yeah, Lisa's actually obviously she's hysterical. Nothing you can even say about her, and her comedy is amazing. She actually does a little mentoring for Nick over here. Like, she's been nice enough to write some jokes.
It was funny. We did so she came to one of our last shows before coronavirus hit, and it's me and two other comics that run this company with Greg as well and booking the shows. And we met up at like a diner here in Connecticut, and we just went over jokes with her, and she was very nice. And then the next week the world shut down, and then like 2 weeks later She emailed us and she was like, my last fucking meal was with you two idiots, or you three idiots. She goes, that was my last meal out. God damn it, what a waste. I started fucking dying. But then we did like one Zoom like open mic type thing. She is hilarious. First time I met her, I asked her to come on this podcast, and she goes, I've never been less interested in anything else in my entire life. And then she laughed and I laughed, and I was like, she's the best. I don't care.
But
she's great. She's such a ball buster. And I always say this, I always, especially with her and Dice, it's like, I hate to ruin their street cred, but they're both like such sweethearts underneath that ball busting exterior. So that's I missed that about Lisa. That's totally her. So it's good to see she hasn't lost a step, even though she hasn't done comedy in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
She actually had some very nice things to say about Nick after she saw his set, and I keep trying to remind Nick. I'm like, you need to remember when some people with credibility of Lisa Lampanelli give you a compliment. You should take that. Don't get cocky, and use it to your betterment. Right.
When I told her I hadn't, this is another funny thing. When I hadn't been going up in New York a lot, because I work at a gym here, I work at Equinox in Connecticut, and I was waking up at like 4:30 every day. So the city I was like, yeah, I'll get there. And then of course New York City shuts down, the whole world shuts down. But she asked me, she's like, you've been going to the city? And I was like, not really. Like, I have work early. And she just goes, oh, fuck off. She goes, do you want to be a comedian in Norwalk the rest of your fucking life? And I was like, okay, fair, good point.
That's great.
Yeah, it's hysterical. So what I was watching some of the videos on, I think it's on the album you put out in February, the bit about Winger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got a bunch of rock and roll jokes on the new record.
I can tell you, since I really like Winger too. Since the first record.
Do they sing 17?
Yes, that's what I was going to talk. I was going to ask Don.
That's what the joke is about. Yeah,
that's the joke, right? And I used to. When I was in high school and then in college, I had a Monte Carlo SS with T-tops, right? And I would roll around blasting Winger and that song. And then years later, I'm listening to this song and I'm like, that song totally is about being a pedophile.
Yeah. He's the original R. Kelly.
The original R. Kelly. And then you said that bit, I'm like, I've been saying that to myself for 30 years.
Well, now when they sing that song, because of course they have to.
Of course.
He does. Over the years I've watched him, play that song, and he does the math. So
right.
Like the last time, they sang it, the last chorus, he goes, "She's only 47 now."
It's hysterical. But is Winger really one of your favorite bands from the period?
I don't think I said they were one of my favorites, but the point I was making is just like, with a lot of, especially hard rock and metal, there's so many subgenres
right.
of this kind of music. I don't know if it's the same way. I guess maybe, hip hop kind of has that a bit, but I don't see it as much as it in hard rock and metal. And people get really, they get very territorial. They're like, I only listen to thrash metal. I don't listen to this, or I only, listen to, symphonic country and western gender fluid metal, or whatever.
Favorite kind.
That's me, dude, all the way.
I'm like, I like it all, I'll listen to Motorhead, I'll listen to Slayer, and I'll listen to Winger, back to back to back, and it's
right.
all the same to me. It's all, it's guys, playing their guitars loud, and so it's all good. But that's sort of the point I wanted to make. And then, of course, I have to take a cheap jab at Kip Winger.
Right.
Now, when in one of your sets I was watching a few days ago, you talk about how Guns N' Roses is one of your favorites. Like, that's all time for you. Why is that? Why do you like Guns N' Roses so much? Obviously, they're fantastic, but, what's your reasoning?
Well, I mean, obviously it's the music, but I think, obviously more than that is just that's one of the greatest debut hard rock albums of all time.
Hands down.
And I so wanted to not like it because, I was like a big Aerosmith fan. I'm like, these guys are kind of second-rate Aerosmith. And then you put it on and, I know Welcome to the Jungle is way overplayed at this point in our lives, but man, when I first heard that, I was like, okay, this band is it's dangerous. You
Yep.
know, it's dangerous, which makes it fun, which means I like it. And, you know, it's funny that they had such sort of limited amount of music and made such a big impact. I mean, you know, they were playing arenas all in stadiums all over the world. Now they're back and they're doing it again without any new music. So
Yeah.
it's been they've had a wild ride, but that, you know, those songs still hold up after all these years, man. When you hear Paradise City and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, this is still freaking cool.
That's
man.
exactly what I was going to say. Was the first time I heard them, I was in high school and I was playing football, and one of the pregame songs is "Welcome to the Jungle," and then when you postgame was "Paradise City." That was like tradition amongst, like, you knew that was the song. Like every year, the seniors, that was the song they played. And I've never heard. You know, you're 14. That was probably the first time I heard it, and I'm like, "What is this? Oh my god, I'm so fired up. I don't even know what to do."
Don,
it
grow
was
up?
like crack for a teenager, that album.
Where'd you grow up? Where'd you, like, as a teenager? Where were you?
That's none of your fucking business. Where I grew up. You want my address?
No, just the
Yes.
town.
You want,
like,
what are you doing our ancestry.com on
yes,
me?
I am, and I need some blood. We gotta have some blood. Your high school yearbook picture.
Yeah, I want urine, but whatever.
No, I grew up mainly in Jersey.
Okay.
You know, so Jersey dude.
All right, that's what I was. Did you go to that GNR Aerosmith Deep Purple concert at Giant Stadium?
I was there.
Yeah, me too. That was, I think, of all the concerts I've been to in my life, which is hundreds, maybe into so many. That is one of my favorite concerts of all time.
Yeah, that was a great one, and that was before I could actually, like, you know, get backstage or
Right.
you know, get good tickets to shows, you know, through the band. Like,
Yeah.
I was just a regular fan like everybody else, and I think I literally had the worst seat at Giant Stadium. I was all the way to the back, at the back of the arena, at the top, in the top row in the center, so that it was it sounds like Deep Purple. I guess it's them. I can't make out faces from here.
Right.
You know, it's like 3 miles away. But I agree, man. Even from those crappy seats, what a night, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I think at the time that was like the only 2 shows Deep Purple did in the world in that year, and that lineup was. I mean, just that show, and you know, the early days of GNR, right? To open up for Aerosmith and Deep Purple. I mean, that's just unbelievable. By the way, that's section 340 that you're talking about at Giant Stadium. I've been in it many times. That's where I sat for Monsters of Rock.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Directly across. Couldn't be farther away. So let's talk a little about your podcast before we go. Like, what's, you know, obviously I've seen it in the types of guests you're having on, music, comedy, the whole 9 yards, but like, what is there? Is it just where TMS left off? Is that what you're doing, or are you just having a good time with buddies? Like, what's?
Yeah, well, no, I guess, I mean, it just evolved into kind of what it is, but it's it's called That Jamieson Show. So obviously I co-opted the name from that metal show, which obviously we took from that 70s show.
Sure.
So just continuing, the long line of stealing people's names and making it our own.
Right.
And it's That Jamieson Show, Compound Media. And I usually have, 1 or 2 rock guests zooming in or, Skyping in and hanging. And I try to have a comic with me in studio. I like having the comic foil with me, and but it's mostly a rock show. But we talk about comedy, talk about sports once in a while. I have a bunch of different segments like Shithead of the Week and things like that. So it's been cool, and Compound Media is great because it's Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony, who just said, you know what. Fuck all this politically correct stuff.
Yeah.
He got fired unceremoniously from Sirius XM for, stuff on his personal Twitter. And he's like, you know what? I don't need to deal with this anymore. I'm going to open my own network and I'm going to let comics do shows on here and I'm going to let them say and do whatever the hell they want. and they have nothing else, like my show on there. And it's
Right.
been friggin' great, man. All the comics on the network are killer, and we're gonna actually we've been doing some shows together, Comedians of the Compound. That's a lot of fun. They're all edgy dudes and women on the network, so it's been cool, man. But I've had great guests, man. I've had Alice Cooper, Corey Taylor from Slipknot, David Coverdale. I just interviewed Ace Frehley, so it's been a lot of fun, man. I've been doing that just over a year.
Yeah, it is. It's great, and congratulations. Keep doing it, because it's an awesome thing to watch and listen to. It's inside perspective, where it's picked off. It's great. I really appreciate the time that you're taking to do it. So obviously we talked a little bit about doing shows and how that's opening up again. You just itching to get back out and getting on stage as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's been okay, man, because look, I'm in a very flexible situation. I'm not married. I don't have kids, so it's like, what gig do you got? Like I was saying before, you got a backyard, you got some cash, I just want to work, man, because
right.
I realized very quickly, probably within a couple weeks, that I have way too much rage to just be sitting at home with. And I've scared my parents several times visiting throughout the quarantine. And they're like, you got to get on stage. I go, I know. I'm frightening. Forget frightening children. I'm frightening adults.
Wow.
With my temper. So I've been just trying to get up somewhere, anywhere, and do it. And I'm not that concerned about the money right now. If I can do a weekend and even break even at this point, it's just when the doors finally fling open for everybody again, and it's 100%, man. I don't want to just be gearing up again, man.
Yep.
I want to hit the ground running.
Yep.
I know a lot of comics are waiting for a virus, for a vaccine and stuff, which is, but I'm like, I got to get out there, man.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're going to get you out here for sure.
That's right.
I got to be free, man.
Yep. Live free.
You could stay at Greg's house.
Sure. Yeah. I got 2 teenage boys. They'd love to hang out with you, and you may not love to hang out with them, but
they like AC/DC?
Yeah, I took them to see AC/DC at Giant Stadium. My older son is a great guitar player and drummer, so he rips it up. He's pretty good.
Well, cool. We'll have to do a jam.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. So Nick, don't end it. Just hit stop when we're done.
Your stop.
I know. So thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been awesome. We'll definitely do it again, and see you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg and Nick, man. I really appreciate it, man. Good talking comedy with you guys.
Yeah, you too.
For real. Thank you.